So click record. All right, we're back on. Welcome to Creative Presentation, and I just want to mention very quickly, have a positive attitude and an open mind as you move forward in this class. That's the key to successful coursework, successful everything, pretty much. And make sure you ask me questions. Anytime, every time you need anything, just send me an FSO message. Get on my phone and text me, or get on your phone and text me. Anyways, I already started this intro, and we're having to re-record it, everyone that's listening to the archive. I'm Brandy Price. You can call me Brandy. You can call me Ms. Price. Hopefully you watched my video already, my introduction, and you saw that I was with Atlantic Records for a few years. I've been a sales trainer. I've worked a lot in the music industry. I've worked with record labels and production studios. I've done a lot of consulting work. I have a master's degree in communication. So this is my expertise is communication and sales and distribution. So if you're in the music business program, for any of you that might be in music business, you will have me as your music distribution teacher, and I teach a couple of other classes in that program, but that's my specialty. That's my curriculum, is the music distribution one. I used to teach presentation work, like public speaking and business presentation and stuff, over at UCF about 10 years ago. Taught there for a couple of years part-time while I was consulting and doing some other projects. And then I also taught around town. I did Toastmasters International. I was a public relations officer with them. They are a public speaking international nonprofit organization. And I love Toastmasters. They're really great. So if you still feel anxiety or anything after this class with presentation work, go check out your local Toastmasters, and they will really help you out. You can get a lot of practice in there. So that's my information, my cell number. And thankfully, somebody caught my cell number when the internet went out on me a few minutes ago, and they were able to text me and say, hey, so we can't see you anymore. So that's my number, 484-423-4148. Okay. And I just expect you to communicate with me, be professional, just like you're in the industry, because the teachers here at Full Sail, we teach, but we also are involved in the industry. We still are, some of us have our own businesses. Some of us work at actual, companies in the industry. So make sure you're professional with us, not just because that's the way you should be, but because you're going to be working with us in the industry when you get in. So we're going to be like colleagues, and, you're going to be, I stay in touch with all of my alumni. I've been teaching for almost 10 years now, and I've been here at Full Sail for 8 years. So I just expect really good communication, professionalism, and you're going to have us all in multiple classes usually. So you have me right now, but you're going to have me in other classes. So just, be professional. And what you can expect from us, I will get your grades and feedback to you with good detail within 7 days, within a week. And if you ever have questions or any concerns about your grade or your feedback, if something doesn't make enough sense to you, please let us know. I'm your instructor for this class, and we have other instructors. If anything happened to me, there's other instructors that would be there for you. So just communicate with us, that's all. All right. So this is where I was at when we stopped before. Copyrighted material. You're actually in a presentation class, which is very focused on slide design and everything. So you're going to be using, images and everything in your slides. The best way to go about using images in your slides is to use what we call Creative Commons images. And one of the most well-known places you can find images online to use on presentations and stuff is through what's called CompFight. And in fact, I'm going to type that in the chat box for those of you that are on here right now so you can see it. Oh, you can't see my slides. Oh, no. Okay, that's okay. Share my screen. There we go. I didn't click the share my screen this time. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I can't see the chat until I open it up. So I should probably take you all off mute, or you can text me on my phone. I should take you off mute. But just make sure you mute yourself if you have any noise in the background, guys. Okay, I'm unmuting all of you. So if you have yourself on mute, though, it stayed muted. Yeah, there's noise in the background. That's why I had y'all muted. Okay. Yeah, I screen shared with you this time. Sorry about that. It's called Comp Fight. There you go. Comp Fight. That's the word right there. It's COMPFIGHT. Comp Fight. Okay. Oh, cool. Thank you, Ronnie. He's muting himself. And Elizabeth, you might want to mute. Who else is it? Miriam, you might want to mute. Shaquille, I hope I'm saying your name right. And Tony. Okay, cool. Everybody's muted now. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go back over here. Now, with the slides and the images and everything, as long as you cite your sources on your slide, you know, it's okay. You can use stuff, but you just have to be careful with using images that are copyrighted. Just be careful with that. Make sure you cite your sources. Always cite the images. Some teachers will really come down on you with that. But as long as you cite it, you're pretty okay with me. And again, if you can find Creative Commons images, that's the best way to go because those are free for you to use. But again, you should always cite everything you have in your slides. All right, and for any of you that might be having any issues with your writing, like for instance, if I put on your feedback that you might want to visit the Writing Center, that maybe you're having some grammar or spelling issues, you can contact the Writing Center. They're at extension 2340, or Writing Center at fullsail.com. That's another way. And yeah, if you have any questions or need any other resources, I'm always here for you guys. But this is not really a paper writing class. This is a class for doing slide work, so you should be okay for the most part. And professionalism. You are graded on professionalism here at Full Sail in every class. That's 10% of your grade. So make sure that you read over that professionalism activity because that will be 10% of your grade in how you deal with your professionalism this semester. So again, be professional because teachers will take points off for professionalism if you're not communicating professionally and everything because it's super important. Full Sail is seen as in the industry, as a major school for entertainment and media professionals. And we've had a lot of feedback from those out in the industry, those big companies and everything that have said it, a long time ago. It was, hey, we're having some issues with some of the students not being professional. So that's become a standard part of our curriculum here. So that's why we're very strict on it. We want to make sure that if you're going out in the industry and you're representing Full Sail, that you are a professional and that you know how to communicate professionally because it reflects back on us. So that is an important part of your grade and you will be graded on it every semester. So some teachers are a little more strenuous than others. You might have a good rapport with one teacher and then the next teacher, you say the wrong thing, you get a little nasty or something and maybe you don't even realize it's coming off that way. They might deduct points. So just be careful with that and make sure you read over that activity so you do know what applies. Also on Connect, we have the student manual, and you might want to look that over as well. And when you're working on discussion boards, just make sure that you're timely with that you actually turn in your discussion board work on time because that's part of a participation grade. It's not like a regular assignment. A regular assignment we can give you extensions on and everything. Now with discussion, it's really that's kind of a participation area. So it's like you showed up for class, So if you don't do it on time, it's like a lot of teachers will not accept it. They won't give you an extension on discussion unless you were in the hospital or something because it's like, well, you didn't really come to class, so I'm not counting that. So just be careful with your discussion boards. And your textbooks, Why Resonate and Slideology. Hopefully you've had a chance to look them over. Slideology it's just a great book. I've been using that for years. And it's wonderful for creating your slides. It's amazing. So Slideology is great. Why Resonate? Absolutely fantastic. You're going to be reading some chapters this week right now. And hopefully you already started. But it's really, Nancy Dort, she wrote Resonate. And she is the CEO of Dort Design, which is the largest design firm in Silicon Valley. And she's the fifth largest female employer in the area. So she also wrote Harvard Business Review, Guide to Persuasive Presentations. I mean, this material is absolutely fantastic. So hopefully you got a head start on it this week and you're enjoying it. So you're going to start with chapter 1, why resonate. Hopefully everybody's getting through that okay. And to kind of jump right in here, industry and art thrive on change. So companies that learn to thrive in the chronic flux and tension between what is and what could be are healthier than those that don't, right? So for example, take the new taxi services like Uber and Lyft. I'm sure many of you have used Uber or Lyft, which is the new way. You download the app on your smartphone and you just put, oh, I need a ride on Uber. You click on the little tab there, and it finds the closest person to you. And these people are just freelancers that use their own cars, and it's like a new business model. And these companies are taking off, whereas the old taxi services are not doing so well. So they're using a lot of creativity to make these new types of business models out there. It's changing everything. Everything's changing because of technology and because of creativity. So, many times the future cannot be quantified with statistics or facts. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. But, sometimes leaders have to let their gut lead them. Let your intuition lead you into some uncharted territories where statistics haven't yet been generated. So an organization out there, company, should make continual shifts and improvements all the time to stay healthy, to stay up to speed, right? For instance, Sony and Warner Brothers and EMI, all those big record labels, right? We went from like 10, down to 3 now. And that's because, they didn't jump on board in the digital revolution. When Napster came up and all the piracy started happening 15 years ago, they were fighting it instead of using creativity and the new business models and jumping into, making use of what's out there and being creative. Just think about Google and Apple, for instance. I mean, they're very creative companies and they thrive because they're always changing. And they're always jumping on to new creative ideas that their employees come up with. Creativity is super, super important in today's industry and today's economy and just everywhere. You can hire out for things like accounting easy, anywhere in the world. But when it comes to creativity, that's really what makes a business thrive. So, a bored audience is a very non-receptive one, right? I'm sure you've sat in a presentation and felt trapped before, like this guy right here. Presentations can be very boring. Have any of you ever felt, trapped at a presentation? Probably in school a lot, right? All right, you're welcome to chime in, jump on in with me. There we go. He started to, and then he backed off. You still there?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm here.
So who is this that's speaking?
Tony.
Hey there. So have you ever felt trapped in a presentation?
Oh, most definitely.
Tell me about that.
Oh, hold on. I got a little feedback. Hang on a second.
Okay.
Okay. When I was in high school, I had to sit through a lecture during speech class, or it wasn't a speech, but it was debate class, and just sitting up listening to the lectures and debates and things, and it became really really boring. So I'm like, okay, I know I can't leave. I need the grade, so I gotta stay here and listen.
Yep. It probably was not applying to you, right? So a lot of
Right.
times, yeah, when we get bored or feel trapped, it's like, this isn't relevant to me. I don't care. I don't want to listen to this. So, that's
Right.
something we're going to talk about is, making sure that you are talking to your audience, and it also has to do with the energy in the presentation and the way you present your vocals. You know, you might hear what I'm doing right now. I'm going up and down with my voice, right? And it's keeping your attention a little more than if I was reading like monotone, right? If I'm just doing that, it's just so boring and people will just tune out within a few minutes. So the way you
Right.
present and also when you apply it to the audience, right? So does anybody else want to jump in with any of their experiences and feeling trapped within a presentation?
Yes, I will.
Okay. And
For orientation for work was always awful.
orientation.
Like policies, and I work for a hospital, so
Oh,
it was
really?
always about policies
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, and when it gets when the language is not inspiring, the language has so much to do with whether, you're listening, these key words, if somebody's grabbing your attention with the right language like they do on television, right? No, that's
Hmm.
really going to keep you engaged. But if they're talking about policies and they're using jargon and words that maybe you don't even quite understand, or they're boring words and they're old words and it's too formal, you lose people. And that's why you're seeing these bigger companies that used to be so formal and talk to stockbrokers, now they're presenting so differently now. If you watch any presentations by Apple, by Google, for instance, two of the biggest that I can relate to you guys, you'll see that the way they present is they make it inspiring. They make the language easy for everyone that is listening to understand, right? Thank you for sharing, guys. I love it when everybody jumps in. So anytime you have something to say, just say, hey, I have something to say. So, people rarely act by reason alone, right? We are emotional creatures. We don't usually act just because of logic or reason. Typically, we don't act because of logic or reason. You need to tap into other deeply seated desires and beliefs in order to be persuasive. Right? You need a small thorn that is sharper than fact to prick their hearts. And that thorn is emotion, right? And what we see here, we see a quote, right? When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. Jimi Hendrix. Nice quote, right? Grabs your attention, nice and emotional. But now, check this out. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. Jimi Hendrix. You see the person, right? The visual evokes more emotion, right? And we connect with people. So if we see a picture of a person, that right there evokes emotion. So images are so important. And this is a nice image, right? It's very clear. You have the one person, you don't have like a bunch of stuff going on. So it really impacts people, it inspires people when you use emotional visuals. You want to use nice visuals. Here's some more examples. Socrates, right? Education is the kindling of a flame, not the filling of a vessel. Socrates. There we go. Education is the kindling of a flame, not the filling of a vessel. Socrates. A little more emotional, right? A little more interesting. Grab your attention a little bit more. But how about this? Education is the kindling of a flame, not the filling of a vessel. Socrates. Right? This right here, this grabs you. So choosing your images, that's so important in creating effective presentations. Here's some more for you. This one right here, everybody remember Bill and Ted? Education is the kindling of a flame, not the filling of it. It evokes a totally different emotion, right? This is like a funny movie. So when you see this, it lifts you up. Whereas this is kind of like, oh man, you can feel these pictures, right? So moving on then. This right here, what elements are needed? And hopefully some of you read through the book a little bit. What elements are needed in a good presentation? What are the basic elements? Anybody? I hear papers rustling. We're looking for it. Looking in a book or something. What elements? What's needed in a presentation? What's the basic thing needed in a presentation?
Emotion.
You need emotion, right? You need inspiration, good language, right? You need, simply put, you need a beginning, a middle, and end. You need a story, right? You need a story in presentation. That's how we remember things. That's how we learn things, is through story. Think about your favorite teachers. I'm sure you've had a favorite teacher in the past. They probably were really good at telling stories or maybe putting visuals in your head by talking, right? They were storytellers. And, Dan Pink, he's one of our big writers for, he's actually a big author, but he was a big speechwriter for big politicians. And he was Al Gore's speechwriter back in the day. And I went to one of his big presentations, and he said that it's the best storyteller that wins the presidential campaign. It's the best storyteller. That's what he said. And he was a speechwriter, So you have to have a beginning and a middle and an end. If you've ever heard a little kid tell a story, they mix it up, right? They'll tell you the middle, and you're like, what are you talking about? Or they'll start with the end, and it just it's not as fun to listen to, right? If you have a good beginning, you have a good middle, and you have a good end, right? And in your book, you're learning about this. That's really going to keep people engaged and listening, right? Good storytellers, they're comedians, right? A good television show or a good movie, a good book, all these stories, they keep your attention because they have the three basic elements, really, and they're in order. I know that seems super basic, but super important for presentation work. So you'll read more about that, learn more about that as we get in. But effective presentations. Well, I'm going to show you some videos here. These are kind of fun. Let me go over to my interwebs. Yeah, I had our live session there. Okay, here we go.
I don't think we can hear the audio from the video that well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Unless it's just me.
No,
Let's see.
I can't hear it either.
Let me pause it. How's everybody else doing? Does anybody else having issues, or should I turn it up?
I can't hear it either.
Oh, you can't hear
This
it.
is Tony. I can't hear it.
That's odd. I do this all the time. I've never had this issue. I wonder what that might be. Let's see. I wonder if GoToTraining changed something. My screen. No dashboard. Let me check my audio. Like speakers. Everything looks normal. Can you hear the audio at all? I might just need to turn it up.
Can you play it again?
Yeah, I can play it again, but can everybody at least hear it a little bit? Here, you know what?
I couldn't hear it.
I know exactly what I'm going to do. Hang on. See if this helps. Okay, I'm going to try it again, and I'm looking at the chat box, so anybody's welcome to say something here as I play this. Is that better?
Yeah. Quadruple checking notes as we file in.
Is that better, guys?
Yeah, that is good.
Okay, cool. Okay, everybody, go ahead and mute yourself again now. Thank you. All right, here we go.
Getting the computer ready and asking everyone to take a seat. Pretending to click something on the computer to cover up the fact that I don't know what to do with myself.
Arriving just in time.
Wrapping up our conversation about a popular TV show we watched last night.
Disdain for popular TV show.
Mediocre icebreaker joke. That doesn't quite land. A attempt to redeem myself by making fun of that guy.
Laughing at that guy.
Laughing because he's laughing and I like him.
Not laughing, and now checking out for the rest of the session.
Title, dramatic pause, of my presentation.
Question about how long this session will last?
Annoyed, vague response.
Exaggerated eye roll.
Poignant quote from unknown philosopher to kick off presentation in dramatic fashion. Juvenile slide transition to spice things up. Reading a long paragraph exactly as it appears on the PowerPoint slide about a shocking statistic I just learned about, followed by all kinds of vague lingo that no one will remember 2 seconds from now, capped off by 3 bullet points. Proudly pause to make sure everyone notices my awesome clip art choice. Out of date pop culture reference.
Correction about the pop culture reference.
Defending pop culture reference by citing social networking site no one uses.
Audible sigh to make sure everyone knows this is a complete waste of my time.
Serious and somewhat over the top reminder about how important this information is. Unexpected technical difficulty. Embarrassment. People can see my desktop background.
Snide remark about how Macs are better than PCs.
Desperate plea for IT guy.
Fixing the problem with an annoyed look on my face so that everyone knows how good at computers I am.
Unfunny video I'm really proud of having created myself.
Texting my friend in a way that I think is discreet.
Clearly aware of the texting. Prefacing a preface of a preface so that no one really understands the point that I'm prefacing. And now, going through a long list of facts, one by one by one. Asking if anyone has any questions. Reminding everyone there are no bad questions. Hoping if I wait long enough, someone will finally have a question. Concluding by restating the title of my presentation and dismissing everyone. Excited that someone came back for a follow-up conversation.
Grabbing pen that I accidentally left.
So after you've seen that one, huh?
Oh, that was funny.
And so true. Yeah, so you're going to learn how to not be that guy this semester, and I am going to show you a fantastic video that I have actually been showing this video. It's not the same one. He has done new ones since back in, oh my god, it was 2006 I started showing this video. This is fantastic, so here we go. It's about 4 minutes.
There's some things I hate about PowerPoint, and I figure it's kind of my duty to point them out. So here we go. Here's common PowerPoint mistakes. Number one, people tend to put every word they are going to say on their PowerPoint slides. Although this eliminates the need to memorize your talk, ultimately this makes your slides crowded, wordy, and boring. You will lose your audience's attention before you even reach the bottom of your first slide. Please don't do that anymore, please. Number two, most common. Many people do not run spell check. Big mistake. Nothing makes you look stupider than spelling errors. If it's got a red line under it, recheck the spelling. And then finally, I hate this. Avoid excessive bullet pointing. Only bullet key points. Too many bullet points, and your key messages will not stand out. In fact, the term bullet point comes from people firing guns at annoying presenters. Hence the bullet point. Bad color schemes, not good. flashing background and font colors can lead to distraction, confusion, headache, nausea, vomiting, and loss of bladder control. I can't stay on that one too long. Here's something I've noticed. The number of PowerPoint slides you have in your talk, the less useful your talk actually is. Unfortunately, my presentation is right there. I've also noticed this. People love to pack data into their presentations. They shove more and more data thinking it's better, but it's not. The more data you have, the harder it is to read your slide, and the effectiveness plummets. Now, you can improve the effectiveness by adding some shading and some 3D effects and then some second order and third order effects. And then, I know, let's add some labels. That'll help a lot. And that's pretty much every marketing slide I've ever seen right there. Then some like VP of marketing standing there going, "It's real clear in Q4. What the hell are you talking about?" Now, I'm into in animation. People become animators in PowerPoint. You can have things flying all over the place, and that can be good. If you're a visual learner, that will improve the effectiveness of your performance. But if you're easily distracted, more animations and people have no idea what you're talking about. They're just, "Wow, that is cool, wow." And there's regions here, by the way. There's the simple but effective region. There's the active but confusing, the effective but boring, the active but ineffective, the dull but static region, the busy but useless, the ADD only region, the useful but amusing, the stupid but confusing, the dull triangle, the hyper triangle, the sleepy square, the dizzying pentagon, and everything else I just call pointless motion. That slide right there took me an hour and a half to make, right there. PowerPoint can just suck the life out of you. It's amazing. I've also come up with this. It's a kind of a little science I've invented called font analysis. Basically, the font you choose says something about who you are as a person. There's a huge list of fonts, and you choose one, and that says something about you. So be careful the font you choose. For example, if you choose Courier New, it happens to be my favorite, you're probably organized and structured. If you choose Matisse, it means you're artistic. And if you choose Times New Roman, it means you're lazy, apathetic, and unimaginative, and you always use the default. Oh.
Oh boy, I love that guy. All right. Sorry, he makes me laugh every time. Let's go back to our presentation. So,
any way that you can type those two videos in the chat?
Oh, put them in the chat itself? Yeah.
Oh, yes, just so I can go, just to rewatch them.
Yeah, definitely. Here, let me go back here. I think I got rid of it. I can go back into my presenter notes here. Hang on. I think it's in presenter notes. Show presenter notes. Here we go. This one. Okay, this was the first one. There you go. And this is the second one, Death by PowerPoint. If you look that up, yeah, Death by PowerPoint is, there you go. That's Death by PowerPoint. It's really very popular. So you can always just look it up and it'll come up too. Yeah. All right, go back into presenter mode here. All right, so you can see there are a lot of issues when you're putting together a presentation, and you're going to learn all about those as you move forward in this class. Another thing I want to mention here, 4 types of, oh, sound went out? Brittany's saying the sound went out on chat. Okay, Justin said no. So, Brittany, you might...
Oh, I can hear you.
I can still hear you, too.
Okay, Brittany, I think you... Let's see, I'm going to type in here. Brittany... Okay, hopefully she can get that fixed. I'm not sure. Maybe she pressed mute? I don't know. Anyways, there are 4 types of audiences. We have... Oh, this isn't working. What's happening? My presentation's stuck. Oh, it's trying to get me to leave the training. What's going on? Hey, you can see can you see my screensaver? Isn't it cute?
Oh, that's nice.
Isn't that cute?
Cute.
There it is. It worked. I have a dog and a goat on the screensaver. I love it. I teach off this computer on campus, and my students always laugh at me in the campus room. Okay. Anyways, I love animals. So you have 4 different types of audiences. You have the friendly audience that expect good things from you, and they are super happy to be there and excited. You have the apathetic, the ones that are like, why do I have to do this? Like if you're doing a meeting or, they're kind of forced to be there, they're usually apathetic. You have the uninformed, those that don't know why they have to be there. So you have to tell them all about why they have to be there. You have the hostile ones, right? Anybody can any of you think of why there might be a hostile group you're listening to or you're presenting to? Yeah, exactly. Dustin said they disagree. Absolutely. Let's say that you're trying to persuade an audience about maybe something, you're trying to persuade them on, for instance, if you go to a community meeting and there's a big event going on and these people don't want the event happening. Right? I'm from Daytona Beach, actually, and I remember back when MTV used to come for spring break every year, and that was such a huge issue because a lot of us wanted MTV there, but a lot of people did not want MTV coming to Daytona Beach anymore. And so that was a huge community issue, and you had a lot of hostile people having meetings. So, yeah, you can get into an issue where you are dealing with a hostile audience, and that is never fun. All right. So, yeah, you'll learn a bit about the different audience types and getting to know your audience and what their needs are and why they're listening and why they would even be interested is so important. Right, your audience is your hero, right? They getting to know the hero, right? It's the hero's journey. Whenever you're watching television, for instance, right, you're putting yourself in the place of the story. I mean, you're relating to it, you're identifying with it. And if you can't identify with it, then you're probably tuning it out. You're probably not that interested. But a lot of times when we are interested in a show, we really love a show, we love a movie, we can identify it on some level, some psychological level. So you want your audience to be able to identify with what you're saying, right? They are the hero there. It's really about them because if they can't identify or relate to it, they're not going to listen to you. They are going to tune you out. So you always want to put yourself in their place. You want to be able to relate to them. You want to think about what their lifestyle is, like what their hobbies are, where they hang out. For instance, maybe what knowledge they already have, what they already know, where did they get the information? You really have to put everything into perspective, you have to psychologically analyze your audience members. And the way I always do this is I think about the one person. I just get that one person in my head and I really think about them, what their hobbies are, what they know, what's important to them, their values, who influences them in their life, and that tells you a lot. I mean, is this a kid? Are they 13 years old? So the thing that's going to influence them the most are their 13-year-old peers and the television and YouTube and, even their parents in some way. But if you're talking to a group of businessmen, right, what's going to influence them? Their spouse, right? Probably the fact that they need to make money for maybe a family, maybe their job. So, what experiences influence them? What kind of past experiences have they had, right? Are these investors? Are these surfers? You got to think about what their lifestyle is and what influences them to really relate to them and to be able to understand them. And also another thing, I know this is a more of an online class where you're thinking about it in terms of presentation work online and everything, but dressing the part, relating to your audience by dressing how they dress is pretty important in presentation work. You don't want to overdress or underdress for your audience, right? You want to dress like them so they can feel relatable to you. So again, relating, okay, how do you relate to your audience? So figuring out ways to relate to your audience members and considering them as individuals as opposed to a group helps you make a better connection. Like I was just saying, try to think of common ground you have with them. So imagine, when you think about your audience, imagine them as individuals with maybe one-on-one time with you. Think about one person in that audience that would go to coffee with you and sit down and talk to you and be interested in what you have to say, right? So when you're putting something together, you want to think about it in those terms. You want to think about it at the individual level. You want to find out everything you can about them to create an effective message for them, right? If you're talking to a group of minors, right, you're going to have to relate to them in the way that, they live their lives, in the way that they do their work and in their past experiences, and the way that they, just see the world. So if you're talking to a group of 16-year-old girls, it's going to be very different than if you're talking to a group of 35-year-old parents. So you always have to put yourself in the place of that hero, of that person, of that individual. So important in creating an effective message, right? If you're pitching something to me, you want to be able to identify with me. If you start talking to me and defining everything that you're saying, and maybe I already have a lot of knowledge on that subject, right? Maybe you're talking to me about a music business app, right? And I already know a lot about music business. So if you're talking to me and explaining things on an elementary level, like I was like a 16-year-old girl or something, then you're not going to be able to relate to me. You're not going to be able to keep my attention. I'm going to get probably even aggravated and say, oh man, I can't believe they're talking to me like this. So even in an unconscious light, I might think that. I might not consciously say, oh, I don't want to listen to this, but unconsciously I'll tune you out, right? So you always have to be able to speak to the individual as if, you're at their knowledge base. You know what their knowledge base is. So do your research beforehand, know your audience. Get to know your audience. I have a nice little thing up here. Actually, I need to minimize this because I can't see my screen. All right, so get to know your audience. Designing a presentation without an audience in mind is like writing a love letter and addressing it to whom it may concern. That's a great quote, isn't it? All right, so segment your audience. You want to find out about your audience's demographics, right? Like how old they are, what sex they are. Find out psychological things about your audience, what their interests are, right? So you want to really dig in. Not everyone will be receptive to your message. But your goal is, when you're creating a presentation, is to target the group that you feel will bring you the most support. So what we're going to do now, before I let you go, we just have a couple more little quick things here. In your book, Resonate, you have a little bit about the Ronald Reagan's Challenger disaster speech. So I'm going to have you watch the Ronald Reagan speech on the Challenger disaster and break down. It's only a few minutes. It's like, I don't know, about 5 minutes or so. Break down his talking points and who he is appealing to. I want you to identify the groups he segmented. Is he talking to people at NASA? Is he talking to families, little kids? Who is he talking to? So let's go ahead and open that up for you guys. This is the Reagan. It is 4.5 minutes. Everybody ready? We'll open up chat. Okay. Nobody's saying anything like they've lost me, so.
Yep, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, cool. All right, somebody asked me, is it cheating if I read this in the book? No, because this is just like if you're in the regular campus class. So hopefully you did your reading and you're ready to now discuss it with me as your teacher, so I can give you even more information or make sure that you guys are getting it. So it's definitely not cheating. Good question, though. Here we go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play it for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd planned to speak to you tonight to report on the State of the Union. But the events of earlier today have led me to change those plans. Today is a day for mourning and remembering. Nancy and I are pained to the core by the tragedy of the Shuttle Challenger. We know we share this pain with all of the people of our country. This is truly a national loss. 19 years ago, almost to the day, we lost 3 astronauts in a terrible accident on the ground. But we've never lost an astronaut in flight. We've never had a tragedy like this. And perhaps we've forgotten the courage it took for the crew of the shuttle. But they, the Challenger 7, were aware of the dangers, but overcame them and did their jobs brilliantly. We mourn 7 heroes: Michael Smith, Dick Scobie, Judith Resnick, Ronald McNair, Ellison Onizuka, Gregory Jarvis, and Krista McAuliffe. We mourn their loss as a nation together. The families of the 7, we cannot bear, as you do, the full impact of this tragedy. But we feel the loss, and we're thinking about you so very much. Your loved ones were daring and brave, and they had that special grace, that special spirit that says, give me a challenge, and I'll meet it with joy. They had a hunger to explore the universe and discover its truths. They wished to serve, and they did. They served all of us. We've grown used to wonders in this century. It's hard to dazzle us. But for 25 years, the United States space program has been doing just that. We've grown used to the idea of space, and perhaps we forget that we've only just begun. We're still pioneers. They, the members of the Challenger crew, were pioneers. And I want to say something to the school children of America who were watching the live coverage of the shuttle's takeoff. I know it's hard to understand, but sometimes painful things like this happen. It's all part of the process of exploration and discovery. It's all part of taking a chance and expanding man's horizons. The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. The Challenger crew was pulling us into the future, and we'll continue to follow them. I've always had great faith in and respect for our space program, and what happened today does nothing to diminish it. We don't hide our space program. We don't keep secrets and cover things up. We do it all up front and in public. That's the way freedom is, and we wouldn't change it for a minute. We'll continue our quest in space. There will be more shuttle flights and more shuttle crews, and yes, more volunteers, more...
So far, how many, and please don't use the chat box for this, just go ahead and unmute yourself if you have something to say. How many audience types have you already addressed? Anybody?
He addressed NASA, he addressed the children, he addressed the Soviet Union. Of course, we read that in the book already, though.
Of course you did. Very, very good. Perfect. And you could even see the transition, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he would kind of pause, and then he would take a different type of tone, and he would use different language. You can just tell that he's speaking to different audiences, but it's so subtle that it just blends so well together. He was a very effective communicator. In fact, Ronald Reagan, as many of you probably already know, he was an actor before he became president. You know, that was one of the big things he did as a professional, was acting. So he was a very effective presenter. So as you read through your book, make sure that you are really, jumping into these videos and examples and everything. It's very, very good book, like I was saying before. But let's go over to the book real quick, actually. You can see here from the book. Let me open this up for you guys. They break it down, audience segmentation. You have the families of the fallen, for example, and NASA. So would you listen to his presentation? Does anybody remember that presentation? Does anybody remember that actual State of the Union address?
Yeah, I do. We saw it in school.
Yeah, I did too. I remember it. Isn't that's so crazy how long ago that was.
I was around 1 year old, I think.
What was?
Yeah, I was in elementary.
I couldn't hear. Somebody said something. Yeah, elementary school for us older folks. Yeah, that was back in the 80s. But you're going to say something?
No, that was me, Tony, agreeing with you. Yeah, I saw it in elementary school.
Yeah, yeah, Reagan. Wow. But anyways, make sure that you read through this. Great book. I just wanted to give you guys an example and also, give you an example of what I was talking about. But you can see how he was talking to the different audiences, but he did it in such a way. It was very smooth. He wasn't really making anyone feel excluded. So make sure you read through the book about all of that, guys. Such a great book. Let's see, what else we got here? Let's get back over to our presentation. So here we have from Star Trek, Captain Pike. Your father was captain of a starship for 12 minutes. He saved 800 lives, including your mother's and yours. I dare you to do better. Nice quote, right? Any Star Trek fans out there?
Oh,
Yep.
no.
All right, we got a couple. Okay, yeah, I'm a big Star Trek fan as well. But that's a very powerful quote, right? I mean, being the mentor, showing emotion, really connecting with your audience. Those are just some of the most important elements in a presentation. Using quotes, like you can see up there, using quotes really grabs people's attention. So as the mentor, when you're coming on board here, what are you going to provide your heroes? How are you going to connect with them? So these are the things you need to be thinking about as you're moving into the class, as you're getting up on the discussion boards and everything. The process of creating a presentation, really, it's about starting off with good planning. So important in putting together a presentation. You got to think about who your audience is. I've been talking about that already. What is your flow? Having a nice beginning with introduction, grabbing the audience attention in the beginning, right? Asking the right questions to get it moving. And then having the content be really supported with great examples and quotes and maybe statistics or whatever's going to fill and support your claims. And then having a nice end, to conclude and summarize your main points. So you got to think about what tools you need. You need Keynote, you need certain images, and this will take you guys a while to put together an effective presentation. You have to do some mind mapping, brainstorming, coming up with your ideas, your main points. And typically a good presentation has 3 main key points. And then as you do that, as you put together your main points, you have to find all the supporting elements to, for examples and stories and things that are going to support your claims. The things that you're saying to us, you need to support them with outside sources. So this takes a lot of time. So don't wait until Sunday to put together a presentation. You really want to work on it a little bit throughout the entire week. So start Monday with, reading over your instructions, some of the reading material. By Wednesday, you should be starting to put together some things, doing some research and stuff. So have good time management in here. What is your message, right? You have to have a main point, main selling point for your whole presentation. And you want to make sure you anticipate any obstacles and to be ready to be a problem solver when you're presenting. And reflect on the process. So, all right, so when you're putting together your map, your plan for your presentation, you have to know the steps for planning your journey. So this is where you start getting into, okay, let's start out with the brainstorming, right? Then you want to create an effective outline. How many of you feel like you're pretty good at putting together an effective outline at this point? Anybody? No?
Nope, getting there.
Okay, all right, cool. Yeah, what I always say to do is to create like a, what I like to do is I'll put like my main point, right? My main message in the middle of a piece of paper, and I'll put a big circle around it, right? And that's how I start my mind mapping. And then I'll put like 3 branches, and those 3 branches will have the 3 main points that are about that message, right? And then within those 3 points, I'm now going to come up with some support. So I'll put like, for example, let's look at, this example from this book or from this article, this news article, right? And you'll kind of write the little reference in right there. So that's mind mapping, and it's a great way to get started on writing a presentation. And then, of course, you put together a nice little outline, and from there you rehearse. How many times do you think you should rehearse a presentation? Anybody?
As many as much as you can.
I like that answer. I like that. That's a really good answer. I always have said 10 times is a good amount. I always I've been telling my students for 10 years with a presentation, if you rehearse 10 times, you're going to know this presentation in and out. You're not going to even need to look at your notes, right? And if you have notes, could you unmute yourself or mute yourself back for me, please? I can hear a lot of noise, static. But if you do have notes, you just want them to be maybe a few cue cards, that have like examples and quotes that you need to say. But you don't want to have like a whole big outline in front of you necessarily, or you don't even want to have anything written down. You definitely don't want to have anything written on your slides other than some key points or some words or something, right? Like I have here. I have some, key points or whatever. But with and just so you guys know, I want to make this clear. There's a big difference between teaching and public speaking. Okay, like when you see my slides or anything, if I have some full sentences and everything, that's because I'm teaching you, and it's very different from a public speaking presentation. A public speaking presentation is more about engaging the audience and being effective as a presenter, whereas teaching is I need to make sure you know all of the material. So that is it's a very different thing. There are a lot of overlap there, but it's very different. Not the same exact thing. So don't look at your teachers and compare them to a public speaker. They're a little bit different. Okay. So, any fans of Dune? I love Dune, by the way. No Dune fans? You gotta look it up if you don't know what it is. But here we have a quote. A beginning is a very delicate time. So starting out the planning process and being effective with your planning is really the key to whether or not you're going to be a very successful presenter. If you can mind map and you can come up with some great supporting points and really rehearse well, it's going to go so smooth for you. You're going to do great. So make sure you plan properly. Let me know if you have any questions. I am always here for you guys. And finally, risk. There is always risk when adopting a new idea or asking others to make a change. As the mentor, what are you asking of the heroes? Okay, you'll always miss 100% of the shots you don't take, Wayne Gretzky. So you guys, you're embarking on a new challenge here. This class is going to help you throughout your entire program, and it's going to help you as business professionals, in whatever industry you choose. So, jump out there, jump into your fun presentations, and make them so that you would want to listen to them. And if you have any questions, please ask me. And finally, resistance. Acknowledge there will always be some resistance to change. As the mentor, what kind of resistance can you expect to encounter? So whenever you're putting together a presentation, you want to make sure that you think of what questions that people might have for you or what kind of resistance they might feel toward you regarding the information you're giving them. So you want to prepare in that way as well. You don't want to just think about, how can I put together a good informational or a good persuasive message? You want to think about who out there might be challenging me, might want to ask me crazy questions or, really be against what I have to say. And that way you can include that in your presentation, or you can at least address the issues when they come up afterwards. And that will make you feel less anxious when you present. So, and finally, reward. Some type of reward will be needed in order to overcome resistance. What types of rewards could these be, and are they worthwhile? So, you really want to key in on the benefits of whatever your message is. Like if it's informational, for example, I used to go around to stores, right? Retail stores for record sales. And I would have to know, what is it that's going to benefit these business owners, right? So I would need to know what were the ads, and the spins and everything for this music, or is there a tour coming? Right? So I need to go in there ready with what kind of rewards they are going to, expect from me. What kind of rewards are they going to get? What kind of benefits are they going to get out of me talking them into buying 30 CDs of this one album, right? And putting them in their store. Why is it going to be worthwhile for them? I have to know. We have a tour coming, right? I know the stats. I know how many spins we're getting, how much radio play we're getting. So you have to go in prepared. You have to know, what are the benefits for this audience? What are the benefits for this person, this hero that's listening? So you need to know your benefits, and that will really help you feel like you can persuade people, like you can inform people properly. How can you make it worthwhile for them? Right? So any questions before we wrap up tonight?
Nope, none for me.
All right, let me go to the chat here.
I don't have any.
Okay, awesome. Dune the movie. Dustin wants to know about Dune.
I don't have any either.
Awesome. Yep, Dune the movie. All right, well, great, guys. If you do have questions, I have my cell phone sitting right here. You're welcome to give me a text or a call anytime. I hope you enjoy your first week with me, and next week we will have another section at the same time, and hopefully we'll be done at 10 instead of 10:30 next time because I won't have craziness going on with my internet. But it was a pleasure to meet all of you, and let me know if you need anything. Y'all have fun this week. Be on the discussion board, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good
Thank you
evening.
very much. Have a good evening, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.